loves, welcome back to another video. So wow, look at the state of them. What are we gonna do with them? Right, so this video is going to show you how I do my prep on natural nails, and this prep is exactly the same whether you're going to do acrylics or gel polish. It is exactly the same prep work. You can see there's a load of staining on the nail. There's some, I don't even know what that is. Just gonna flick it out and hope for the best. Yeah, so I'm gonna get these all prepped up, all ready for some. I'm gonna put acrylics on them, but like I said, it's exactly the same. But the prep is without an eFile, so it's all hand done. So I'm just gonna take a file, and this one is, I can't even remember where I got this from. I got like a massive pack of these, and they're like 150 grit on this side, which is perfect for natural nails, and the other side is something like I don't know, 180 or more, 200, I don't know, something like that. Doesn't really matter because we're not going to do that old buffing bit. What I'm doing is I'm just going around and shaping the nails. So the reason I shape first is because when you buff over the top of the nails, if you take off the length that you don't want, you're actually spending less time buffing. So if these were really long and I buffed over the surface, then I would be absolutely wasting my time taking all of that off, because I wouldn't want to keep all the length. Doesn't make sense, does it? So yeah, just taking down and making sure I'm putting them in roughly the right sort of shape. You can obviously go in and amend them at a later date. So I use one of these nail brushes, one per client, and I do clean them off and properly sanitize them and put them in a little ziplocky bag. That one is my one. I'm just using a sanitizer spray, which is like an alcohol based spray. And what I do is I give them a scrub, the nails, mine or clients or whatever, between each step. And this is kind of to de-dust and to clean off the nail plate, just so I can see what I'm doing. And it also dehydrates everything as well. So obviously if you're touching it or putting any tools on it or putting anything on it, you will get oils or debris or whatever on there. So I'm using the cuticle pusher from the manicure set from Wow Bao. All my stuff is from Wow Bao, except those purple files, of course. And what I'm doing is I'm pushing the cuticle back and taking off of the nail plate any non-living tissue, so any of that sort of dry, crusty stuff. Now it's really important that you do that, because anything that is sitting on that nail plate, like this, these little crusty bits, and you'll have to excuse that poorly sorely bit, but you do need to go around it and separate it off the nail plate if you can. Even with a client, if it's really sore and open, then obviously I wouldn't work around it. But it is scabbed over, it just looks really sore. It's not really, because obviously I've just sprayed it and stuff with alcohol spray. So make sure you get all of that off. If you don't get that off and you put gel on top of it or acrylic on top of it, that stuff is going to lift eventually, and that will cause your enhancement to lift, whether it is gel polish or acrylic or polygel or hard gel, whatever you use, it's going to just come off. So make sure that you get all of that stuff off, every little bit, in every little nook and cranny. Have a really good go at getting every little bit of it off. So I'm just gonna let you have a little watch there of me getting the rest of it off and being really thorough. So I've sped this bit up so you're not watching me fully in real time, but this bit is really important. And people talk all the time. I hear texts, or I see on groups and stuff saying, oh, I'm going to change my gel, or I'm going to change my acrylic because I get lifting all the time. And lifting is very rarely to do with product. It's in my experience anyway, always to do with the prep and how much work you put into prep. I put loads of time into my prep work on new clients, especially when you get to know clients, you get to know sort of how much work their cuticles are going to need and all that sort of stuff. But you know, if you really put your time and effort into your foundation work, then your enhancements will just last forever. Obviously you can get the wrong ratio, or you know, if you have any issues with curing or anything like that, then that can make a difference. So I'm just going around and nipping off any of the non-living tissue. Now I've got these nippers out, and I'm just getting that non-living tissue. So it's not the fleshy bit, it's this sort of crusty non-living, it's not the sort of, and I'm not pulling it, this is the technique that I use. I cut it, and as you apply pressure it actually cuts through it, and I move the nippers backwards away from it rather than pulling it upwards. I'm not actually pulling at the tissue, if that makes sense, although it looks like I am. I should have probably done that differently for the video, but that's just how I work. So I'm making sure that any last bits are out. You can see there's a few little bits, and I'm just using the nippers to scrape, which is a bit naughty. I've got a little bit of hangy down the side here, so I'm just taking that off as well. So any little bits and pieces, any straggly bits, and obviously those of you that use eFiles, there are bits that do that. I tend to use an eFile as well, depending on the client. I generally use eFiles to get all those bits off the nail plate, but this video is without the eFile. So like I said, I'm using 150 grit on a natural nail to take off the surface shine. Now you're not filing the nail, you're not taking away layers, all you're doing is removing the surface shine. So it's more than buffing. This is another thing that I come across quite a lot. People say, you know, I buffed the nail and the acrylic popped off or the gel peeled off. It's not a buff, it needs to be harsher than a buff. Buffing the nail to make it shiny, it's going to give no surface to adhere any product to. What we're doing is we're taking the shine, the natural shine off the nail, any oils off the nail, and you're giving it what's called like a key. So for instance, like when you paint a surface, you would rough it up first with a bit of sandpaper or something, and then you're giving that like the surface, you're preparing it and you're making sure that it's dust and debris free before you put a paint on it, and that makes it adhere. And it's sort of the same principle with nails. You're taking off the shine. You can't adhere something onto a very, very smooth, shiny surface. So you're just taking that shine off, roughing it up a bit, and giving it more of a surface area to adhere to. And that's what's going on here. The amount of times that I've seen people wonder why their nails aren't staying on, but they're using a white block to buff, and they're way too fine, the grit on those. But really no pressure needs to be applied for this process at all. It is literally a very gentle skip over, just enough to make a difference to the surface of the nail, the very surface. We don't want to be taking layers off, we don't want to be making the nails thin or damaging anything or anything like that. Literally just altering the very, very surface of the nail. Another thing that I will say is make sure that you get right up into the cuticle, right to the side walls, because if you miss those bits will lift. If you do most of the nail and leave the cuticle shiny, that's where it's going to lift first. If you don't get right into the side walls, that's where it's going to lift first. So make sure that when you're filing and roughing up the surface that you get every last bit of it. So what I'm doing there is just getting all the dust out again. I'm trying to dry it off, and as it evaporates, because it's an alcohol solution, those nails will go kind of white, and you can see where I have filed over the top, and any areas you'll miss will become really obvious and apparent. So you can just go back and redo them again. So I'm just showing you that antiseptic disinfectant spray from Whalebow, which is an alcohol base. So if I was going to be doing gel polish on these nails, this would be the next steps basically. From here I would apply primer. Yes, I put acid-free Whalebow primer on nails for gel polish and they last brilliantly. I would then go in and do a base coat, cure it. I would do my colour or colours or design, cure it, and then I would go in with my top coat, whether that's matte or shiny. That would be my process from this point onwards. However, if I was doing acrylics, I would grab my tips, whichever shape tips I was doing, I would glue those on. I would then make sure that they were in the right, file them, put them in the right shape, use the sanitizer spray to de-dust and to dehydrate, and then I would go in with primer on the natural nail only, not the tip. Then you would just apply your acrylic after that point and carry on as usual. So you would get to that point for acrylic and for gel, and then it would just differ slightly from that point onwards. So I mean, that's it really. I hope you have enjoyed the video, and I hope you found that helpful, useful, interesting, and whatever else. So yeah, leave me a comment. Make sure to like and hit the subscribe if you want to see any more videos coming up, and I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.